I don't even know. Well, it says I'm up, so let's see how this goes. Seems I don't have DLive settings done right. It's more of a test stream because I have no idea how to make sure I'm doing these things right. So I'm learning as I go, playing with some free tools. Long-term goal is to be able to do some repair videos.
Are you still there?
And do them as a live stream. Right now I'm going to go ahead and I made a video of Garuda installation. I did it totally wrong, but I'm going to play that anyway on the stream because this is how I'm going to be testing the stream today. I want to see if I got audio output working good and see if I can load captures that load video content in the middle of the stream and things like that. Just trying to learn how to use these things and figure out how to optimize stuff before I start doing full-on repair video work. That way I can focus on the repairs and don't have to tinker with video capture, because I'll have that under control well enough. So it's about a 25-minute video, and yeah, I recorded a 4K display and captured it at 1080p, so you won't be able to read anything. I went through, did tests anyway, and put all the pieces together from camera capture and screen capture. But yeah, this is clearly a work in progress here. I am still learning this stuff. Okay, I'm starting over. So originally I had to disable secure boot in EFI. This time I don't have to. Oh, I booted off the SSD this time. Well, let's see if I can catch that this time. So, originally I had to go into BIOS and turn off secure boot to get rid of make it so I can actually see my Zalman. That's the virtual disk I'm using for loading Garuda. And I do actually get to use the proprietary driver installer on this particular unit. If you have older NVIDIA graphics, something like Kepler GPU, you won't be able to. I chose this particular distro since this is Arch based. The new Steam OS is going to be Arch based. So running an Arch based distro will give you better access for drivers and games as they're coming out. I'm not going to do any gaming on this particular system, so I might end up going with a Zorin OS for an install later on. But for now, I want to try this on this system. I've been running it on an old Alienware laptop and have liked this distro a lot so far. see if I can get a screen recording going before I move forward with the installation process. That way I don't have to use just my camera recording for the final video editing. Okay, recording started, so let's move into the installation process. Start with a short password so I can do updates and edits to the installed OS afterwards really quickly. Then I'll fix that later. Okay, so the installation probably is going to take a good amount of time since I'm also doing video recording of it at the same time. So I'll probably fast forward through the install part since this part actually takes a good amount of time with the video recording at the same time going. Alright, that's the end of the installation. Just take a quick look around while we're still in live disk mode. I was pre-installed with some fun little tinkery things and some handy tools. Their own custom browser called FireDragon. It's a Firefox build with a couple of handy things. They have their own instance of SearchX. And it's a really good search engine. I actually find results like I used to on Google like 6-7 years ago. Some of the fun parts and add-ons that you can choose post-installation. I'll get into those and do a little bit of screen recording of that as well for you. As part of that's actually worth taking a look at, because there's some quirks to their installation process that have come about since the release of the original ISO for this distro. And it makes getting what you want installed a little bit tricky, and it doesn't run straight out of the box. And that's because the first part of that setup wizard that they have, it runs updates first, and that actually breaks the rest of the installation stuff because they've made so many changes to the way that installer is supposed to operate. So I usually skip doing the updates first, pick the software I want installed. Then it installs the software and runs updates at the same time, and usually that makes the stuff that I want install and work. So I think we're done with the main part of this. So you can see it's a fairly good looking operating system, and I actually get things working that I really want working. Hooking in Google Drive is pretty decent, although loading into an installation of Google Drive is slow every time you go in there. Oh, and it actually sees my desktop and my laptop. That's interesting. But it doesn't see my NAS. Yeah, I had that issue before. Not a big deal. Lots of great customizations, even quick and easy install and switching a kernel. Good hardware detection for loading graphics drivers. Really important for people using NVIDIA hardware. Although I might have to make some customizations to be able to get my particular laptop's graphics configuration to work. They're mostly geared towards setting this up for desktops rather than laptops, so I have a bunch of customization I have to do. Alright, that's good enough for now. Let's shut her down and boot off the SSD. Okay, first boot. Let's get connected. Okay, we got that screen recording going. I forgot to enable my mic. Hopefully I'm picking the correct levels for mic. I'll go a little higher this time, just in case previous recordings were too quiet. Kind of looks like I'm hammering audio levels that way, though. We'll try it here and see how that works. I might just have to pull audio off the phone and ignore the audio that I've recorded. Okay, so we got the setup assistant request. Do we want to do this? Yes, we'll take a look at this. Update the system. As I've said earlier, if we update the system first, the rest of the setup assistant seems to be, at least in part, broken, so I'm going to say no to the update. And that's because I want to be able to pick from the list of applications to install. Now, I'm pretty new to Linux stuff for daily driving, and I don't follow a lot of the details for one distro to the other distro. Package managers, for instance, I don't know about cross compatibility, how these things work, because I don't write code. People that write code, especially in the Linux world, they understand this stuff and it makes sense. And people that are and have been using Linux stuff daily, they understand this stuff. I don't fully understand this stuff. I've been mainly using Windows. I've dabbled in a lot of Linux stuff, so I can get around and I can follow a tutorial and I can get by. I'm going to start with the failsafe and I'll try that. I think I need to load kernel from another location at some point. This gives you quick, easy kernel switching options if you're having issues on one or another, but I got to make some optimizations for the CPU on this particular model, and I'll probably have to do something for the switchable graphics system outside of what comes as part of the pre-install setup or post-install setup. They give you a good list of browser options to load. And I really think that their Fire Dragon browser is actually a pretty nice and clean build. But I like to have a few extras on hand. I've used the Evolution Mail. I've used Thunderbird in the past. I've used Geary as well. I did actually like Evolution, and it's the first distro I've tried it out on. So I'm going back and loading that again, because that actually worked with the email that I have. And I'm not going to do a setup on that stuff, but... Chat clients. And we'll see how this works. I haven't set up and used all of these before. I do have a handful of these running on my other system, and they work pretty good. I do have a odd quirk occurring with my Telegram install. It, for whatever reason, when it's open and running, when I first launch it, it pulls my mouse, and then sometimes sets itself to trying to move the desktop application on the desktop. I don't know what's causing it. It's just a weird quirk, I guess, so I haven't figured it out and haven't looked into it much. Let's see, I don't really use any of these download tools, but it's always nice to have FileZilla on hand. I haven't tried the Strawberry Player, but I keep intending to. I like using OpenShot for video editor because I'm not a video editor, so this is really simple, really straightforward, really easy to handle. Just the basics of what I like to use here. Let's see. This is really the stuff that I'm interested in using this particular system for. Some digital art stuff, so we'll get just the... Some of this other stuff I should probably look into at some point, but I like using Krita, and that's what I intend to use this particular laptop mostly for. And I haven't tried any of these others. The Pencil 2D, I'm not sure what that is, but it sounds interesting. I might have to go look into some of those later. Next. I've tried using Kodi. It always ends up being way more steps to use it than what I care to get into. So I don't really see anything in here. I've used Streamio in the past on Windows. It's not the movie source that I like to use either, so I'm going to move past this. I don't see anything in here I want. They offer up some of the open source Linux games. Seen some people doing this first-person shooter not that long ago. Looks interesting. But this isn't a system I can really game on, so I'm not going to be loading any of the game extras. I mean, I could probably do the mind test. I'm not going to do any gaming on this. This is mostly going to be for some artwork stuff. I don't do coding and developing, so let's move on. I haven't played with the Anbox yet. I do keep intending to get in and try some of the Android VirtualBox stuff. Just haven't got around to it. I don't have a particularly any particular use that motivates me when I try it, but maybe I will eventually. Now, the Variety wallpaper changer, I've installed that on this distro before, and it's handy, but I don't want a wallpaper changer. And I've had issues with Conky with this Plasma 5 desktop. It loads, and then the desktop loads over the top of it, and you don't actually see Conky. So I'm not going to be loading that either. Maybe somebody else has loaded this up and knows how that works to make it so it's part of your actual desktop and not something that loads behind it. It's just not something I'm going to get into. It's an interesting desktop element and has lots of cool features, but I don't want to get into tinkering with it and setting it up. And yeah, so now I've got the installation part going to run, and it's going to do updates, so I'm going to have to stop screen recording here so that I can close OBS and let the updates run. That's going to take a while, so I'm just going to walk away from this for a bit, and then maybe I'll come back and add a little bit more. Yeah, that went pretty good, at least for my testing of the stream. I'll be doing more Linux-based videos. The perspective here is going to be focused on transitioning from Windows as someone who's comfortable and good at solving problems and getting through issues in Windows. There's an extra bar to entry with Linux, and it centers around all of the different stuff that gives you more access to the hardware's resources, but it's all put together in a way that's user-friendly to more technically savvy people, and it's not as accessible to people that have a limited understanding of technology devices. It's a big challenge, even with somebody who has understanding, to start understanding the way these operating systems actually work in comparison to the way the Windows operating system works. Windows continuously tries to make the barrier to entry much, much, much lower. Tries to make it as accessible to users as possible. Linux doesn't always get put together in that way. This particular build of Linux does have some very handy features that make it more accessible, but you still have Linux here, which creates issues. I've got issues on this system that I don't... if I go and look at information on setting up the hybrid graphics, I get all these different sources of information. Some of them might actually help me improve performance and improve normal graphical interface tasks. I mean, I got the Optimus Manager installed, but it'll log me out if I try and switch graphic modes, so I'm not going to do that. But it seems like I've got it mostly working, but if you go through and start reading information on other stuff, like how to get better performance out of the Intel graphics on a mobile device like this, they start giving you a lot of information, and it's really quick overload. You don't know where to go, you don't know what to try. You get information on doing one thing and then warnings about doing those things, and you don't know how relevant it is to your own hardware. You can go through lists where they talk about specific installations and what works and what doesn't with specific laptops in certain spaces, but my laptop's not specifically listed here. I do see devices that are close or similar in hardware spec, but they're not the exact same devices. I don't have the exact same issues these people will have. And there's not instantly links to how to get to the solutions. They'll tell you what works, and then they'll tell you you might actually have some things to do for a workaround, but they don't link you to where that information is, where those solutions are at. You just have to know it, which is fine if you use Linux all the time. You don't have a problem just knowing where to go for those solutions. But if you're trying to transition out of Windows, you're not getting full access to your hardware that you had in Windows, and you don't know where to start solving problems. You have to read a guide just to post a question on this particular Linux's forum. They literally have a tutorial for posting a question. That's a barrier to entry. Every barrier to entry for somebody who needs to get stuff done and needs access to their machine, these are barriers to entry. Learn. And so I'm going to be going through that process. I'm going to be going through that process of learning as much as possible. People that have been in Linux for years still don't know all the stuff. And I'm not anticipating I'll know all the stuff for Linux and how to find a solution and get past issues. But over the next several months, it's what I'm going to be working on alongside still doing my hardware repair stuff, and I'll probably even try and get into a little bit of game streams just for the fun of it. Fill some time because I've got way too much time, and I need something new to do. I need to branch out and push my comfort zone a little bit, try something different. So that's it for now. I'm going to get out of here and make a download of this video from my streams and post it up in some other places. See if we can get a bit of people together that are interested in transitioning out of Windows. Windows 11 is going to be a big push to users, and and the fact is they don't care about users anymore. They haven't for a long time. They don't care what you need. They don't care what you want. They don't care what's going to serve you best. They're just going to grab more money, and Windows 11 is a big push on that. When they tested out that Windows 7 upgrade to Windows 10 process, we should have all seen it coming, that it was more of a cash grab in the end than it was going to be a final operating system. They offered enterprise people to stay on Windows 7 and get security patches on a subscription fee program where they could sign up, stay on Windows 7, and receive security patches if they paid a subscription fee. That's what they're doing to the Windows 10 users now. They're not doing that at an enterprise level. It sounds like they're going to be doing that to end users. And unless you had business class hardware, you likely didn't have the option for the one piece of hardware that they're going to make you have to get Windows 11, the TPM 2.0. It's old hardware in a lot of ways. I think we saw it back in the end of Core 2 Duo and early first gen I series from Intel. Around that era is when TPM 2.0 was being implemented for business class solutions. And it's just a piece of memory that it holds encrypted data for login credentials, and that can be implemented at a board level or an operating system level. It's really simple, but almost no consumer grade hardware came with TPM 2.0 until much later than the business class solutions were getting that. If you had an old business class laptop, you're probably going to be okay. You'll probably be able to get that Windows 11 upgrade if you're really willing to continue to put up with this. I'm personally tired of it, and I was for a long time anyway. They made Windows 10 very easy. Even installations of Windows 10 got better over the time and got to be so fast that even troubleshooting basic software problems and driver problems in an operating system became pointless. It was just way faster to reload the operating system from a flash drive. That's not even the point anymore. They're just going to keep trying to dig into people's pockets and take their money and hold their hardware back if they don't. So let's find a way to get free of that. Linux is a way to do that, and the barrier to entry is understanding how it actually works. So that's what I'll be doing. Get out of here for now, and